Jesus could have just told the truth plainly, but he decided to use stories. Now, the question is, are you really listening? That is what we're going to be looking at a little bit today in day 289 of our Bible in a Year series. We are continuing on in the Gospel of Matthew, and we are in Matthew 13 today. Matthew 13. And we'll jump right in. On that day, Jesus went out of the house and was sitting by the sea. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat down, while the whole crowd stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, Consider the consider the sower who went out to sow. As he sowed, some seed fell along the path, and the birds came and devoured them. Other seed fell on rocky ground where it didn't have much soil, and it grew up quickly since the soil wasn't deep. But when the sun came up, it was scorched, and since it had no root, it withered away. Other seed fell among thorns, and the thorns came up and choked it. Still other seed fell on good ground and produced fruit, some 100, some 60, and some 30 times what was sown. Let anyone who has ears listen. Then the disciples came up and asked him, Why are you speaking to them in parables? He answered, Because the secrets of the kingdom of heaven have been given for you to know, but it has not been given for them. For whoever has, more will be given to him, and he will have more than enough. But whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him. That is why I speak to them in parables, because looking they do not see, and hearing they do not listen or understand. Isaiah's prophecy is fulfilled in them, which says, You will listen and listen, but never understand. You will look and look, but never perceive. For the people's heart has grown callous. Their ears are hard of hearing, and they have shut their eyes. Otherwise they might see with their eyes, and hear with their ears, and understand with their hearts, and turn back, and I would heal them. Blessed are your eyes because they do see, and your ears because they do hear. For truly I tell you, many prophets and righteous people longed to see the things you see, but didn't see them, to hear the things you hear, but didn't hear them. So listen to the parable of the sower. When anyone hears the word about the kingdom that doesn't understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in his heart. This is one sown along the path. And the one sown on rocky ground, this is one who hears the word and immediately receives it with joy. But he has no root and is short-lived. When distress or persecution comes because of the word, immediately he falls away. Now, the one sown among the thorns, this is one who hears the word, but the worries of this age and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, and it becomes unfruitful. But the one sown on the good ground, this is the one who hears and understands the word, who does produce fruit and yields, some 100, some 60, and some 30 times what was sown. He presented another parable to them. The kingdom of heaven may be compared to a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while people were sleeping, his enemy came, sowed weeds among the wheat, and left. When the plant sprouted and produced grain, then the weeds also appeared. The landowner's servants came to him and said, Master, didn't you sow good seed in your field? Then where did the weeds come from? An enemy did this, he told them. So do you want us to go and pull them up? The servants asked him. No, he said. When you pull up the weeds, you might also uproot the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest. At harvest time, I'll tell the reapers, Gather the weeds first and tie them in bundles to burn them, but collect the wheat in my barn. He presented another parable to them. The kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that a man took and sowed in his field. It's the smallest of all the seeds, but when grown, it's taller than the garden plants and become a tree, so that the birds of the sky come and nest in its branches. He told them another parable. The kingdom of heaven is like leaven that a woman took and mixed into 50 pounds of flour until all of it was leavened. Jesus told the crowds all these things in parables, and he did not tell them anything without a parable, so that what was spoken through the prophet might be fulfilled. I will open my mouth in parables. I will declare things kept secret from the foundation of the world. Then he left the crowds and went into the house. His disciples approached him and said, "Explain to us the parable of the weeds in the field." He replied, "The one who sows the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world, and the good seed, these are the children of the kingdom. The weeds are the children of the evil one, and the enemy who sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the age, and the harvesters are angels. Therefore, just as the weeds are gathered and burned in the fire, so it will be at the end of the age. The Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will gather from his kingdom all who cause sin and those guilty of lawlessness. They will throw them into the blazing furnace, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then the righteous will shine like the sun in their Father's kingdom. Let anyone who has ears listen. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure buried in a field that a man found and reburied. Then in his joy he goes and sells everything he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls. When he found one priceless pearl, he went and sold everything he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a large net thrown into the sea. It collected every kind of fish, and when it was full, they dragged it ashore, sat down, and gathered the good fish into containers, but threw the worthless ones. So it will be at the end of the age. The angels will go out, separate the evil people from the righteous, and throw them into the blazing furnace, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Have you understood all these things? They answered him, Yes. Therefore he said to them, Every teacher of the law who has become a disciple in the kingdom of heaven is like the owner of a house who brings out of his storeroom treasures new and old. When Jesus had finished these parables, he left there. He went to his hometown and began to teach there in the synagogue, so that they were astonished and said, Where did this man get this wisdom and these miraculous powers? Isn't this the carpenter's son? Isn't his mother called Mary, and his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? And his sisters, aren't they all with us? So where does he get all these things? And they were offended by him. Jesus said to them, A prophet is not without honor, except in his hometown and in his household. And he did not do many miracles there because of their unbelief. Chapter 14. At that time, Herod the Tetrarch heard the report of Tetrarch. I don't know how to say that. Heard the report that Jesus, this is John the Baptist, or heard the report about Jesus. This is John the Baptist, he told his servants. He has been raised from the dead, and that's why miraculous powers are at work in him. For Herod had arrested John, chained him, and put him in prison on account of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, since John had been telling him, It's not lawful for you to have her. Though Herod wanted to kill John, he feared the crowd, since they regarded John as a prophet. When Herod's birthday celebration came, Herodias' daughter danced before them, and pleased Herod. So that's his niece. So he promised with an oath to give her whatever she asked. Prompted by her mother, she answered, Give me John the Baptist's head here on a platter. Although the king regretted it, he commanded that it be granted because of his oaths and his guests. So he sent orders and had John beheaded in the prison. His head was brought on a platter and given to the girl who carried it to her mother. Then his disciples came, removed the corpse, buried it, and went and reported to Jesus. When Jesus heard about it, he withdrew from there by boat to a remote place to be alone. When the crowds heard this, they followed him on foot from the towns. When he went ashore, he saw a large crowd, had compassion on them, and healed their sick. When evening came, the disciples approached him and said, This place is deserted, and it's already late. Send the crowds away so they can go in the village and buy food for themselves. They don't need to go away, Jesus told them. You give them something to eat. But we only have 5 loaves and 2 fish here, they said to him. Just sometimes it's comical in my mind. Anyways, I see as I'm reading through the Bible, I picture the story, right? And so I imagine the disciples like, Jesus, we gotta send these people away. Like we don't, they need to go get some food. And Jesus like, nah, you feed them. Ah, maybe it's just me. But yeah. Okay, verse 18. Bring them here to me, he said. Then he commanded the crowds to sit down on the grass. He took the 5 loaves and 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he blessed them. He broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds. Everyone ate and was satisfied. They picked up 12 baskets full of leftover pieces. Now those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. Immediately he made the disciples get into the boat and go ahead of him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowds. After dismissing the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Well into the night he was there alone. Meanwhile, the boat was already some distance from land, battered by the waves because the wind was against them. Jesus came toward them, walking on the sea, very early in the morning. When the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified. It's a ghost, they said, and they cried out in fear. Immediately Jesus spoke to them. Have courage, it is I, do not be afraid. Lord, if it is you, Peter answered, command me to come to you on the water. He said, come. And climbing out of the boat, Peter started walking on the water and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the strength of the wind, he was afraid, and in beginning to sink, he cried out, Lord, save me. Immediately Jesus reached out his hand, caught hold of him, and said to him, you have little faith, why did you doubt? When they got into the boat, the wind ceased. Then those in the boat worshipped him and said, truly you are the Son of God. When they had crossed over, they came to shore at Gennesaret. When the men of that place recognized him, they alerted the whole vicinity and brought to him all who were sick. They begged him that they might only touch the end of his robe, and as many as touched it were healed. Chapter 15. Then Jesus was approached by Pharisees and scribes from Jerusalem, who asked, why do your disciples break the tradition of the elders, for they don't wash their hands when they eat? He answered them, why do you break God's commandment because of your traditions? For God said, honor your father and your mother, and whoever speaks evil of father or mother must be put to death. But you say, whoever tells his father or mother, whatever benefit you might have received from me is a gift committed to the temple. He does not have to honor his father in this way. You have nullified the word of God because of your tradition. Hypocrites, Isaiah prophesied correctly about you when he said, this people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. They worship me in vain, teaching as doctrines human commands. Summoning the crowd, he told them, listen and understand. It's not what goes into the mouth that defiles a person, but what comes out of the mouth that defiles a person. Then the disciples came up and told him, do you know that the Pharisees took offense when they heard what you said? He replied, every plant that my heavenly Father didn't plant will be uprooted. Leave them alone. They are blind guides, and if the blind guide the blind, both will fall into a pit. Then Peter said, explain this parable to us. Do you still lack understanding? He asked. Didn't you realize that whatever goes into the mouth passes into the stomach and is eliminated? But what comes out of the mouth comes from the heart, and this defiles a person. For from the heart comes evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, sexual immoralities, thefts, false testimonies, slander. These are the things that defile a person, but eating with unwashed hands does not defile a person. When Jesus left there, he withdrew to the area of Tyre and Sidon. Just then, a Canaanite woman from that region came and kept crying out, have mercy on me, Lord, Son of David. My daughter is severely tormented by a demon. Jesus did not say a word to her. His disciples approached him and urged him, send her away because she's crying out after us. He replied, I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But she came, knelt before him, and said, Lord, help me. He answered, it isn't right to take the children's bread and throw it to dogs. Yes, Lord, she said, yet even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. Then Jesus replied to her, woman, your faith is great. Let it be done for you as you want. And from that moment, her daughter was healed. Moving on from there, Jesus passed along the Sea of Galilee. He went up on the mountain and sat there. Large crowds came to him, including the lame, the blind, the crippled, those unable to speak, and many others. They put them at his feet, and he healed them. So the crowd was amazed when they saw those unable to speak talking, and the crippled restored, the lame walking, the blind seeing, and they gave glory to the God of Israel. Jesus called his disciples and said, I have compassion on the crowd because they've already stayed with me these 3 days and have nothing to eat. I don't want to send them away hungry, otherwise they might collapse on the way. The disciples said to him, Where could we get enough bread in this desolate place to feed such a crowd? How many loaves do you have? Jesus asked them. 7, they said, and a few small fish. After commanding the crowd to sit down on the ground, he took the 7 loaves and the fish, gave thanks, broke them, and gave them to his disciples. And the disciples gave them to the crowds. They all ate and were satisfied. They collected the leftover pieces, 7 large baskets full. Now there were 4,000 men who had eaten, besides women and children. After dismissing the crowds, he got into the boat and went to the region of Magadan. Okay, that is it for our reading. There's a couple parts in there I kind of wanted to elaborate on a little bit more, but we're coming up on time. So, and I still want to get to our questions. I will be, as I go through, I'm kind of making notes of things I want to touch on more, and we'll be doing some videos specifically on those topics. So, if there's a topic that you want to see more elaborated on, or a verse that maybe sticks out to you that you want, or verses that you would like, hey, like, what does this mean, or can we get some more explanation or something like that on that, put it in the comments, and I'll add that to my list. And if it's something that somebody watching has asked for, I will try to prioritize those above just the things that I think may be good to do extra content on. But yeah, put in the comments, or you can reach out on Facebook, Instagram, X. X is probably where I'm most active and most likely to get a message, or you can tag me on them as well. Questions. Question 1. In the parable of the sower, which type of soil best reflects your heart right now? And what would it take for your heart to become more receptive to God's word? That is an interesting one. I think everybody would say that their heart is the one that's on the good soil, right? So I probably won't elaborate a whole lot on this, because I do think most people are probably going to instantly think that, and this is something that may require some more self-evaluation. I will say for a long time, I probably would have said that I would have been the seed that's in the good soil. Good soil. Can't talk. But I actually would have been in the rocky soil where it can't get any root. I was very surface level. Like I knew how to talk. I knew what to say. I knew all of that. But it was not deep at all. Like, if anything would have happened, it probably would have shaken me away from my faith entirely. But I've stuck with it, and I've grown, and that has gotten much more deeper rooted in what I believe. And I am at the point now where I think that I saw an interesting clip, and this wasn't really about Christianity per se. I don't know if anyone's familiar with James O'Keefe. Obviously I don't agree with everything that he's done, or I don't agree with everything that he believes. I don't even know everything he believes, but I've seen some of the exposing work that he's done, and I saw a clip of him where he said, essentially, if you're going to be in the truth-telling business, if your price, basically everybody has a price on what they are willing to trade in order to stay quiet. And he said, if your price is not your life, then you are for sale. If you're not willing to die for it, then someone can buy you off. Think about that in the context of Christianity. right? Now I bring that up because looking back, I know if something were to have happened, I'm not saying I want this to happen. I'm not saying that it will happen, anything like that. But look at Christians in other nations. Like their faith has to be real because they are literally putting their life on the line every time they gather together or anything like that. Um, I think this is a good one for self reflection. I think anybody that watches this, like, really think about that first question. What soil are you? Question 2. Jesus calls the kingdom of heaven like treasure hidden in a field, worth giving up everything for. What are some things we tend to value more than the kingdom, and how can we reorder our priorities? I think this can be literally like anything. Um, it can be spouses, it can be children, it can be material possessions, it can be a position in ministry. I have known pastors who have elevated their ministerial position above God. Um, it sounds weird, but it can happen. Um, yeah, I think anything can be there, and really the only way to reorder priorities is to identify it and see, is there something that you're putting above God, and then reorder it. You have to be intentional about it too. It's not going to happen on its own. Question 3. Even after witnessing miracles, many still doubted Jesus. What does this reveal about the difference between seeing evidence and having faith? Well, I don't know that there's a huge difference because, I mean, having faith is based on evidence. We've talked about this a lot. Faith is not just going with something because you want to go with it and you have no reason to actually believe it. Like, that's not at all what faith is. Faith is believing and having a belief based on evidence and past experience. Now, you may have evidence to believe in God, believe that God is real, and believe in God, but you may not have evidence of that something's going to be okay when you step out into a situation. Now, that specific instance you may not have evidence for, but you do have evidence that God is real, that He loves you, that He cares for you, He wants what's best for you, and that He's going to, like we see in Romans, God turns everything, God works everything together for good for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. So if you love God and you're trying to walk out what He has for you in your life, even if you make a misstep, you know that He can turn that around into a benefit, right? So there's a balance there. They're not exactly the same, but they're not as far apart as what I think what a lot of people assume they are. So yeah. Thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, as all those things help the channel grow. If this has been a blessing to you, you can share it with somebody else. It can be a blessing to them, and word of mouth is the best way that podcasts grow as well. So that can be something that helps this channel as well. Come back every single day. We're going to have more content every single day. Bible reading plan. We're going through the Bible an entire year, different teachings, all kinds of just really great biblical sound stuff like that. So you're not going to want to miss it. Come back, subscribe. Thanks. God bless.